Hi everyone, I'm Simran from CanPR. I'm an education consultant and today we are going to talk about visitor to study permit. We have been receiving a lot of questions from you guys asking for how to convert your visitor visa to study permit, and today we are going to take all these questions and answer one by one. Okay, the first question is, can I apply for a study permit as a visitor in Canada in 2025 or 2026? So there has been a lot of misconceptions around this topic that maybe according to the new rules you cannot change your visitor visa to study permit anymore, which is not true. So in 2025, even in 2026, if you want to apply for a study permit as a visitor, you can still do that, but you have to meet certain requirements. For example, one of the requirements is that you should be completing a prerequisite course before starting your main course, and if you're doing that, you can still successfully apply for a study permit inside Canada as a visitor in 2025. So the second question is that, do I need to appear for an English test including IELTS or PTE test while applying for a study permit as a visitor in Canada? So for a study permit application inside Canada, if you are completing a prerequisite course which includes English, for example, programs like UPP, University Pathway Programs, English for academic purposes, and you're meeting your English requirement with that, you do not have to take a separate IELTS or PTE test. But you also have to keep in mind every institution is different and some institutions might require different English tests. But as a general rule of thumb, if you're doing a prerequisite which is in English, you do not need a separate IELTS or PTE for your study permit application inside Canada. The third question is that, can I sponsor my family after changing my status in Canada as a visitor to student? So now, if you have successfully changed your visitor visa to study permit, you must be wondering if you can invite your family to join you in Canada. For the spousal open work permit requirements, there has been some changes. Now, if you're going to study a master's program, then only you can invite your spouse in Canada on an open work permit. If you're studying a diploma, even if it's a postgraduate level diploma, you cannot get the open spouse. As far as the kids are concerned, if you have any children under the age of 18 and you're studying in a public institution, you can invite your kids to come here in Canada and study for free. The next question is that, I'm a visitor age 45, can I still apply for a study permit for inside Canada? Age is not a concern while applying for a study permit inside Canada, and there is no maximum age limit given by the IRCC. However, your studies which you're going to take, it has to make sense with your career prospects. So if you're applying and if you do not have a proper career plan and what you want to do after finishing this diploma, your application might be rejected. So anybody who's at the age of 45 or above should be very careful when they're applying for a study permit from inside Canada. Next question is, do I need to buy a GIC, Guaranteed Investment Certificate, from a Canadian bank to apply for a study permit inside Canada as a visitor? The answer is no. If you're applying for a study permit from inside Canada, IRCC is not asking for any GIC. It's optional. If you want to do it, you can still do it, but it's not a requirement. So how do you prove your financial ability as a visitor in Canada? You need to provide a bank statement covering your 1 year of living expenses and 1 year of tuition fee, and if you're able to do that, you do not have to provide a separate GIC account. The next question is, do I need to exit Canada to get a study permit as a visitor? So that is a good thing about applying for a study permit from inside Canada, that when you're doing it within Canada and you're meeting the requirement for within Canada application, you do not need to exit the country. That means you don't have to go to the border, you don't have to get a visa stamp. You can just apply for a study permit online while staying in Canada, meeting the requirement, and you can get a physical copy of the study permit mailed to your Canadian address. So that means you don't have to exit the country to complete this process. So the next question is, what is the success rate of getting a study permit as a visitor in Canada? So inside study permit applications have comparatively higher approval rate compared to any application which is applied from overseas, because the visa officers overseas have more criteria to fulfill when they're assessing your application. However, when you apply from within Canada, the chances of getting an approval are comparatively higher. So the next question is, how long can I stay in Canada on a visitor visa? You can stay up to 6 months in Canada on a visitor visa. If you want to stay over 6 months, make sure that you apply for a visitor extension. It's also called the visitor record before your expiry of your 6-month stay. If you apply for your extension, it's up to the IRCC to give it or not, and the decision remains with them. Okay, so the next one is, can I work in Canada on a visitor visa? The straight answer is no. If you're a visitor in Canada, The visa is given to you just to visit. So you cannot work. Even when you apply for your study permit application, you cannot start working until your study permit application is approved and you start the school.